Right now, as you sit here watching this, 5 invisible processes are breaking down inside your body if you are over 80. 5 processes that most doctors simply do not have the time to explain during a 7-minute office visit. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. The most dangerous one, the one that directly leads to broken hips, lost independence, and nursing home admissions. 90% of people over 80 have never even heard of it. By the time they find out, it is already too late. I'm going to reveal that one last today, because you need to understand everything that comes before it first. But trust me, when I get to number 1 on this list, it will change the way you think about your body for the rest of your life. Now, before I go any further, how old are you? Type your age right now in the comments. I read every single one, and I am genuinely curious about who is watching this today. Whether you are 82, 75, or you have a parent in their 80s, type that number right now. Here's the thing. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years, and the conversation I dread most is the one where someone sits across from me, confused, frightened, and says, "I was fine last year. What happened to me?" And I have to explain that their body did exactly what it was always going to do. They just were never warned. Nobody sat them down and said, "Listen, after 80, the rules change completely." Everything I share today is based on published research and my clinical experience, but your health is unique. Always confirm with your personal doctor before making changes. So let me tell you what nobody else is going to say this directly. And I need you to understand why this information falls through the cracks of the healthcare system before I get into the 5 changes themselves. Here is what most people do not realize. Your doctor is not hiding anything from you. Your doctor would love to sit down for 45 minutes and walk you through exactly what is happening inside your body after 80. But the system gives them 7 minutes. 7 minutes to review your medications, check your vitals, address your complaints, update your chart, and somehow explain the complex biological shifts that are quietly dismantling your independence. It is impossible. So critical information gets lost, not because your doctor does not care, but because the system was never designed for the kind of deep patient education that people over 80 desperately need. That is what I am here to fix today. Now, let me walk you through all 5 changes, and pay close attention because each one connects to the others in ways that will shock you. Think of this like a chain. Each link makes the next one worse. By the time I reach number 1, you will understand exactly why that final change is the most dangerous of all. Here is what most doctors do not have time to explain about change number 5. Your immune system, the army that has been defending you for 8 decades, is losing its generals. I'm not talking about a small decline. I'm talking about a fundamental shift in how your body fights disease. After 80, a process called immunosenescence accelerates dramatically. Let me break that down simply. Picture your immune system as a well-trained military. For decades, this army had sharp commanders, fresh recruits constantly arriving, and a clear chain of command. Every virus, every bacteria, every abnormal cell that tried to invade, your army identified it and destroyed it. But after 80, the recruitment centers start closing down. Your thymus gland, the organ that trains new immune cells, has been shrinking since puberty. By 80, it is practically a shadow of what it was. Fewer new soldiers coming in. The veterans are exhausted, and the generals, your T cells that coordinate the entire defense, they start making mistakes, overreacting to some threats, completely missing others. This is important. A 2021 review in the journal Nature Reviews Immunology found that adults over 80 produce up to 60% fewer naive T cells compared to adults in their 60s. 60%. That is not a small dip. That is your army losing more than half its fresh troops. Here is what that means for you in practical terms. A cold that your grandchild shakes off in 3 days can put you in bed for 2 weeks. A flu that your 50-year-old neighbor handles with soup and rest can land you in the hospital. Pneumonia, which is relatively treatable in younger adults, becomes one of the leading causes of death in people over 80. And urinary tract infections, Pay close attention to this. In younger people, a UTI means burning and discomfort. In someone over 80, a UTI can cause sudden confusion, delirium, even hallucinations. I've seen families rush their parent to the emergency room thinking they are having a stroke, when the cause was a urinary infection that their weakened immune system could not contain. So here is the crucial question. Can you actually strengthen an immune system that has been fighting for 8 decades? The answer is yes, but not with a magic supplement or a single food. With a combination of strategies that research consistently supports. First, nutrition becomes your frontline defense. Your body needs zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, and selenium to manufacture immune cells. A 2020 meta-analysis in the journal Nutrients found that vitamin D supplementation in adults over 65 reduced respiratory infection risk by approximately 25% in those who were deficient. 25% from a single vitamin that costs less than 10 cents a day. Now, I need to be crystal clear about supplements. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin, vitamin D can interact with your medication. If you are on immunosuppressants after an organ transplant, boosting your immune system could be dangerous. And zinc, do not exceed 40 milligrams per day. More is not better. Excessive zinc actually suppresses the immune function you are trying to build. If you experience nausea or metallic taste after taking zinc, stop immediately and talk to your doctor. Stay up to date on vaccinations. I know there are strong opinions out there. I'm not here for a debate. I am here for the medical reality. The pneumonia vaccine, the annual flu shot, and the shingles vaccine can be genuinely life-saving for people over 80. Your immune response to vaccines may be weaker than a younger person's, but even a partial shield is far better than standing naked in the battlefield. And this is where it gets really interesting. Harold represents a pattern I have seen dozens of times. Harold is 82, a retired carpenter who built furniture in his garage every weekend for 40 years. Strong hands, steady grip, the kind of man who never missed a day of work in his life. When he came to see me 18 months ago, it was not because he felt sick. It was because his wife noticed he was catching every cold his grandchildren brought home. Every single one. And each cold lasted longer than the last. She kept a little green notebook by the phone. She wrote down every illness, every doctor visit, every prescription. When she showed me that notebook, I counted 11 respiratory infections in 14 months. But Harold's immune system is only part of his story. What happened next connects directly to change number 4. Because when your immune system weakens, your body burns through energy fighting infections that it used to handle effortlessly. And that constant drain affects something most people never think about. Here is what I want you to understand about change number 4. Your balance, the system that keeps you upright every second of every day, is not one system. It is 3 systems working together simultaneously. And after 80, all 3 start failing at the same time. Think about that for a moment. Your inner ear houses something called the vestibular system. Picture it as an internal GPS that tells your brain exactly where your head is in space. After 80, this GPS starts losing signal. The tiny hair cells inside your inner ear that detect movement become less sensitive, less accurate. The map they send to your brain starts getting fuzzy, like trying to navigate with a GPS that is 3 years out of date. Roads have changed, but the map has not. Simultaneously, your proprioception declines. Proprioception is your body's ability to sense its own position without looking. Close your eyes and touch your nose. That is proprioception. After 80, the nerve endings in your feet, your ankles, your knees that send position data to your brain, they slow down. The signals arrive late, or garbled. Your brain is making balance calculations with delayed information. And the third system, your vision. Cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, these conditions become significantly more common after 80, and they directly affect your ability to see obstacles, judge distances, and orient yourself in space. Now, when you combine a degraded inner ear GPS, delayed position signals from your nerves, and worsening vision, you get what I call the perfect storm for falls. And the statistics here are staggering. Let me say that one more time. The statistics are staggering. A 2022 analysis published in The Lancet found that approximately 40% of adults over 80 experience at least one fall per year. 40%. And the consequences at this age are catastrophic compared to a fall at 50 or 60. Here is what the research actually shows about fighting back. Balance training works at any age. I need you to really hear this, even if you feel unsteady right now, even if you have already fallen. You can regain significant stability through consistent training. Tai Chi, a 2019 meta-analysis in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society, found that Tai Chi reduced fall risk by approximately 20% in adults over 65. 20% reduction from a gentle, low-impact exercise that costs nothing. Start simple. Stand next to a sturdy chair. Hold the back of the chair with one hand. Lift one foot off the ground. Hold for 10 seconds. Switch feet. Do this 3 times per day, morning, afternoon, and evening. The first week you might only manage 5 seconds. That is fine. By week 3, most of my patients are holding 20 seconds without thinking about it. But here is the critical part that most people miss. Your medications might be working against you. Many common medications prescribed to people over 80 cause dizziness, lightheadedness, or drowsiness. Blood pressure medications, sleep aids, certain antidepressants, antihistamines, even some pain medications. If you feel unsteady, ask your doctor to review every single medication you are taking. Sometimes a simple dose adjustment changes everything. And please, do not let pride get in the way of your safety. If you need a cane, use a cane. If you need a walker, use a walker. If you need grab bars installed in your bathroom, get them installed today. Not next week, today. These are not signs of weakness. These are tools that keep you independent. I have seen too many patients who refused these tools because they felt it made them look frail, and then suffered a fall that took away their independence permanently. Now, remember Harold, the retired carpenter with 11 infections in 14 months? Here is where his story takes a turn that connects everything. During one of those infections, a nasty respiratory virus that knocked him down for 16 days, Harold got out of bed in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. His vestibular system was compromised from the illness. His muscles were weakened from 2 weeks in bed. His proprioception was foggy from medication. He reached for the doorframe and missed. Picture him lying on the cold bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, unable to get up, waiting 40 minutes until his wife heard him calling. That fall did not break anything, but it broke something inside him, his confidence. From that night forward, Harold stopped going to his garage. He stopped building furniture. He was terrified of falling again. And that fear connects directly to change number 3, because Harold's fall could have been far worse. Let me show you why. Here is what most doctors do not explain in a 7-minute visit about bone health after 80. Your bones are not solid like concrete. They never were. Inside every bone in your body is a spongy network. Think of it like the inside of a honeycomb. This network is called trabecular bone, and it is what gives your bones their ability to absorb impact without shattering. Now, after 80, this honeycomb starts developing larger and larger holes. The walls between the holes get thinner. Some walls disappear entirely. Imagine a honeycomb that has been left out in the rain for years, parts of it dissolving, collapsing inward, losing its structural integrity. That is what is happening inside your bones right now if you are over 80. This next part surprised even me when I first read the research. A 2023 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research followed over 12,000 adults aged 80 and older. They found that the rate of bone density loss after 80 is approximately 2 to 3 times faster than the rate between 60 and 70. 2 to 3 times faster. Not a gradual continuation, an acceleration. Here's what that means in real terms. A stumble, bumping into a piece of furniture. In severe cases, Even a forceful sneeze or a strong cough can cause a compression fracture in your spine. And once you have one fracture, your risk of a second fracture doubles. A third fracture after that triples. Your bones are caught in a vicious cycle where each break weakens the structure further, making the next break more likely. And here is the number that should concern every person over 80. Roughly 20 to 30% of adults over 80 who suffer a hip fracture die within 1 year. Not from the break itself, from the cascade that follows. The immobility, the blood clots, the infections, the pneumonia, the rapid decline that comes from being confined to a bed while your muscles waste away and your immune system crumbles under the pressure. Think about that for a moment. A simple fall in the bathroom can set off a chain reaction that ends a life within 12 months. If this information is new to you, hit like so the algorithm shows this to someone who needs it. This could genuinely save a life. So here's what you can do, and I want to give you specific, actionable steps. First, if you have not had a bone density scan in the past 2 years, get one scheduled this week. Not this month, this week. Know exactly where you stand. Second, calcium and vitamin D. Most adults over 80 need at least 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day. But here is the mistake I see constantly. People take 1,200 milligrams all at once in the morning. Your body can only absorb about 500 milligrams of calcium at a time. The rest passes through you. Split it into 2 or 3 doses throughout the day. Take 500 milligrams with breakfast and 500 milligrams with dinner. Add 200 milligrams from a snack like yogurt or almonds in between. Vitamin D. You need at least 800 to 1,000 international units daily. Some people need more, especially if blood tests show you are deficient. And trust me, most seniors over 80 are deficient. Your skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight as you age. Ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test. It is simple, inexpensive, and it tells you exactly where you stand. Now, I need to be crystal clear about calcium supplements. If you are taking certain antibiotics like tetracycline or fluoroquinolones, calcium blocks their absorption. Take them at least 2 hours apart. If you have kidney disease, excess calcium can form kidney stones. And if you are taking thyroid medication like levothyroxine, calcium interferes with absorption. Take your thyroid medication on an empty stomach at least 4 hours before calcium. These interactions matter. Write them down. But beyond supplements, the single best thing you can do for your bones after 80 is weight-bearing exercise. Walking counts. Standing exercises count. Even just standing up from a chair and sitting back down 10 times in a row, twice per day, puts beneficial stress on your bones. Your bones respond to mechanical loading by reinforcing themselves. They lay down new bone tissue at the points of stress. If you stop moving, your bones get the signal that they are not needed anymore, and they weaken even faster. Every step you take is literally telling your bones to stay strong. Let that sink in. Now, let me tell you about Dorothy. She is 84, a grandmother of 6, retired librarian who still volunteers at the community center every Thursday. Dorothy represents a pattern I have seen repeatedly in practice. She came to me after a compression fracture in her spine, from bending over to pick up a book that slipped off a shelf. A book, not a heavy box, a paperback novel. The fracture was not dramatic, no crack she could hear, just a sudden sharp pain in her mid-back that did not go away. X-rays showed 2 compression fractures in her thoracic spine that she did not even know she had. One was old, completely healed. She never felt it happen. The second one was fresh. Her bone density scan came back with a T-score of -3.2. That number tells me her bones have lost significant density compared to a healthy 30-year-old. But Dorothy's story is just getting started. What I discovered next connects her bone health to something much deeper, and it leads directly to change number 2. Here is what I need you to understand about your brain after 80. And I want to be very careful here because there is a massive difference between normal aging and dementia, and confusing the two causes unnecessary panic that I refuse to contribute to. After 80, your brain processes information differently. Not necessarily worse, differently. Think of your brain as a vast library that has been collecting books for 8 decades. The library is enormous. The shelves are packed. The filing system is complex. Now, when you were 40, your librarian could sprint down the aisles and grab any book in seconds. After 80, that librarian still knows exactly where every book is, but she walks instead of sprints. It takes a moment longer to find the right title, a moment longer to file a new book, a moment longer to cross-reference topics. This is completely normal. It is called slower processing speed, and it does not mean you are losing your mind. It means your brain is navigating a larger, more complex library with slightly less speed. The knowledge is all still there. However, and this is the important part, after 80, the risk of actual dementia does increase significantly. By age 85, roughly 1 in 3 people will have some form of dementia. 1 in 3. That number is staggering. A 2020 study in the Lancet Commission on Dementia identified 12 modifiable risk factors that account for approximately 40% of dementia cases worldwide. 40% that is potentially preventable. Here is the critical part. 3 of those modifiable risk factors become especially dangerous after 80: physical inactivity, social isolation, and depression. And they feed each other in a vicious cycle. You stop moving because you are afraid of falling. You stop socializing because you are embarrassed about your memory. You become depressed because you are isolated. The depression makes you move even less, and the cycle tightens. Your brain needs 3 things to maintain itself after 80. Physical activity that increases blood flow to the brain, social stimulation that forces your neural networks to stay active, and quality sleep that allows your brain to clear toxic proteins, including beta amyloid, which is directly associated with cognitive decline. A 2019 study in the journal Science found that the glymphatic system, your brain's waste removal system, is up to 60% more active during deep sleep compared to waking hours. 60%. Your brain is literally washing itself while you sleep. If you are not sleeping well, those toxic proteins accumulate faster. Do not just accept poor sleep as normal aging. Talk to your doctor. There are strategies that can help, and they could make a real difference in protecting your brain. Now, remember Dorothy, the retired librarian with the compression fractures? When I ran comprehensive blood work on her, her vitamin D level came back at 14 nanograms per milliliter. Optimal is between 30 and 50. 14. Critically low. And here is what connected everything. Emerging research suggests a link between vitamin D deficiency and cognitive decline. A 2022 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults over 70 with vitamin D levels below 20 nanograms had a significantly higher rate of cognitive impairment compared to those with adequate levels. Dorothy was not just losing bone density. Her brain was potentially being affected by the same deficiency. I adjusted her protocol. 1,200 milligrams of calcium split into 3 daily doses, 2,000 international units of vitamin D, confirmed safe by her blood work and kidney function. Weight-bearing exercises 3 times per week, supervised by a physical therapist for the first month. And I insisted she continue her Thursday volunteering at the community center. That social connection was not optional. It was medical. Dorothy's first month was tough. Picture her calling me after week 1, frustrated. She said, "I feel like my body is fighting me. Everything aches." I told her, "Dorothy, that ache is your body waking up. It has been dormant. The discomfort confirms the protocol is working. Push through 1 more week." By week 3, Dorothy called with a different voice. Lighter. She said, "I stood up from the couch without grabbing the armrest today. I have not done that in 2 years." Her results were on the better end of what I typically see. Your experience may be different. Some patients see changes faster, some slower. What matters is the direction. Now, everything I have shared so far, immune decline, balance loss, bone fragility, brain changes, they all feed into each other. but they all connect to one central change that sits at the root of everything. And this is the one I promised you at the beginning. Change number 1, the most dangerous of all 5. Here is what nobody tells you. After 80, your body starts losing muscle at a rate that is unlike anything you have experienced in your entire life. And I am not exaggerating. Between the ages of 30 and 70, you lose about 3 to 5% of your muscle mass per decade. That is slow, manageable. Your body compensates, you barely notice. But once you cross 80, that number jumps to as high as 15% per decade. In some cases, even faster. I need you to really hear this. 15% of your remaining muscle mass, gone, in a single decade. This condition has a medical name, sarcopenia, and after 80 it becomes arguably the single most dangerous threat to your independence, your mobility, and your life. Here is why. Think of your muscles as water-soaked sponges. When they are full and healthy, they are resilient. They absorb shock. They support your frame. They keep you upright. They power every movement from getting out of bed to climbing a single step. Now imagine those sponges slowly drying out, shrinking, getting smaller and harder, losing their ability to absorb impact, losing their ability to generate force. That is sarcopenia. Your muscles are literally drying up, and with them goes your ability to live independently. A 2021 meta-analysis in the journal Age and Aging reviewed over 40 studies involving more than 58,000 participants. They found that sarcopenia in adults over 80 was associated with a 2.3 times higher risk of falls, a 2.7 times higher risk of fractures, and a 3.6 times higher risk of mortality from all causes. 3.6 times. Read that number again. People over 80 with severe muscle loss die at nearly 4 times the rate of those who maintain their muscle mass. And this is the part that changes everything. Sarcopenia is reversible, even at 80, even at 90. Research has consistently shown that resistance training builds muscle and increases strength in people well into their 9th decade. I am not talking about heavy barbells. I am not talking about a gym filled with young athletes. I am talking about simple, safe, supervised exercises that anyone can do. Let me give you the exact protocol. Chair squats. Sit in a sturdy chair. Stand up using your legs, not your arms. Sit back down slowly. That is 1 rep. Start with 5 reps 3 times per day. Morning, around 8:30 after breakfast. Midday, around 12:30 after lunch. Evening, around 5:30 before dinner. These times matter because your muscles respond best to consistent timing, and your protein intake around these windows supports recovery. Resistance bands. You can buy a set for less than the cost of a single prescription copay. Loop a light resistance band around your thighs just above your knees. Sit in a chair. Push your knees apart against the band. Hold for 5 seconds. Release. 10 repetitions. This targets your hip stabilizers, the exact muscles that prevent the sideways falls that lead to hip fractures. Wall push-ups. Stand an arm's length from a wall. Place your palms flat against the wall at shoulder height. Bend your elbows and lean toward the wall. Push back. 10 repetitions, twice per day. This maintains upper body strength for catching yourself if you stumble, and for basic tasks like pushing yourself up from a chair or opening heavy doors. And here's the piece most people miss entirely. Protein. Most seniors over 80 are dramatically under-eating protein. Your muscles need amino acids to maintain themselves and repair after exercise. Aim for at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of your body weight every single day. If you weigh 70 kilograms, that is 70 grams of protein. Spread it across 3 meals, not all at once. Your body can only absorb about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal effectively. The rest gets wasted. Breakfast. 2 eggs and a piece of whole grain toast gives you roughly 14 grams. Lunch. A palm-sized piece of chicken or fish gives you roughly 25 grams. Dinner. A serving of lean beef or beans with vegetables gives you another 20 to 25 grams. Snack on Greek yogurt between meals for another 10 grams. Total, approximately 70 to 75 grams. Achievable. Affordable. No exotic ingredients required. Now, I need to be crystal clear about protein and kidney health. If you have been diagnosed with kidney disease, especially stage 3 or beyond, high protein intake can accelerate kidney damage. Talk to your doctor or a renal dietitian about your specific protein target. Do not follow the 1 gram per kilogram rule blindly if your kidneys are compromised. This is not one size fits all. Now let me tell you what happened to Harold. Remember? The retired carpenter who caught 11 infections, fell in the bathroom, and stopped going to his garage. When I examined Harold's grip strength, which is one of the most reliable indicators of overall muscle health, he scored 18 kilograms on the dynamometer. For a man his size, anything below 26 is classified as low grip strength. 18 is concerning. His walking speed was 0.6 meters per second. Below 0.8 is considered sarcopenic. Harold did not just have a weak immune system. He did not just have poor balance. He had advanced sarcopenia. And his sarcopenia was making everything else worse. Less muscle meant less immune function. Less muscle meant worse balance. Less muscle meant bones receiving less mechanical stimulation, weakening faster. Every change I described today, number 5 through number 2, was being amplified by his muscle loss. I put Harold on the exact protocol I just shared with you. Chair squats, resistance bands, wall push-ups, and I increased his protein intake from about 35 grams per day, which is what most people his age eat, to 70 grams per day split across 3 meals. The first week was hard. Harold's wife sent me a message. She said, "He is grumpy. Everything hurts. He says he feels like he is back in boot camp." I told her that is exactly right. His muscles are being challenged for the first time in years. The soreness is not damage, it is adaptation. Push through. Week 2. The soreness decreased. Harold said the chair squats felt slightly easier, not dramatically, slightly. That slight is the beginning. Week 3. His wife called me. Her voice was different, lighter. She said, "He went to the garage yesterday, just to look around. He did not build anything, but he went." Week 4. Harold's walking speed improved from 0.6 to 0.7 meters per second, still below the threshold, but moving in the right direction. 3 months in. Harold's grip strength went from 18 to 22 kilograms. His walking speed hit 0.82. He was building a small wooden jewelry box for his granddaughter's birthday. Nothing fancy, but his hands were steady enough to sand the edges. Now, Harold's results were encouraging, but not miraculous. Not everyone responds this quickly. Some patients take 6 months to see meaningful changes. What matters is the direction of change. Forward. Always forward, even if the steps are small. Here is what I want you to take away from Harold's story and Dorothy's story. These 5 changes: immune decline, balance loss, bone fragility, brain changes, and muscle loss. They are not 5 separate problems. They are one interconnected system. And the beautiful thing about interconnected systems is that when you improve one element, the others respond. When Harold built muscle, his balance improved. When his balance improved, his confidence returned. When his confidence returned, he went back to his garage. When he went back to his garage, his brain was stimulated. When his brain was stimulated, his mood lifted. When his mood lifted, his immune function improved. It is a chain reaction, but this time, a positive one. Let me give you realistic expectations for the next 4 weeks if you start today. Week 1. I am not going to lie to you. It will be uncomfortable. Your muscles will ache. You will feel tired after exercises that seem embarrassingly simple. You might wonder if this is really worth it. It is. The discomfort confirms your body is responding. Week 2. The soreness fades. Exercises start feeling slightly less impossible. You notice you are sleeping a little deeper. Your appetite improves because your body is demanding fuel to rebuild. Week 3. This is where most of my patients call me excited. You stand up from a chair and realize you did not push off the armrest. You walk to the mailbox and notice your steps feel slightly more confident. Small victories, but real ones. Week 4 and beyond. Improvements become consistent. Your numbers start moving. Your body starts remembering what it is capable of. And here is what I tell every patient. Most people quit after 3 days. They feel sore and they stop. But the soreness confirms it is working. If someone tells you exercise at 80 should be painless, they are not telling you the truth. It should be manageable. It should never cause sharp pain. But mild muscle soreness? That is your body waking up. I know what some of you are thinking. That sounds too simple. Chair squats and protein? That is it? And I understand the skepticism. Let me show you the research. A 2020 landmark study in the British Medical Journal followed over 3,000 adults aged 80 and older through a structured resistance and protein program. After 12 weeks, participants showed an average increase of 14% in leg strength and a 23% reduction in fall risk. 14% stronger, 23% fewer falls. From simple exercises and adequate protein. Those numbers are not magic. They are biology. Your muscles do not care how old you are. Give them stimulus and nutrition, and they will respond. That is not hope. That is physics. Today you have learned something that most people your age never discover. You have learned that your body does change its rules after 80. But you have also learned that you can learn the new rules and play by them. You now understand why your immune system needs targeted support. You understand why balance training is not optional. You understand why your bones need mechanical stress to survive. You understand why your brain needs sleep, social connection, and physical activity to maintain itself. And you understand the most critical piece, that muscle is the foundation underneath everything else. You are not powerless. You never were. The fact that you watched this far tells me something important about you. You care. You are paying attention. And you are willing to act. That puts you ahead of 90% of people your age who will never hear this information. Type "I finished" if you watch the whole thing. And share this with one person. Your mother, your father, your spouse, your neighbor. Someone you care about who needs to hear this today. Not tomorrow, today. Because every day matters more after 80 than it ever did before. And the best day to start was yesterday. The second best day is right now.